Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Canada for the first time in what seems like ages. As I've told you numerous times on the channel, Canadian beer is notoriously difficult to get over in Europe actually. There's not that many of the breweries that make their way over here, and I think even within Canada it's really difficult to get different beers from the different provinces. So it's one of these weird things. I think the same thing goes on in the States, and it's because you've got all these different laws between the states, and you would think though that the federal laws would override that, but apparently that doesn't happen. But for this beer review we're going to go to Collective Arts Brewing Company, who are from Hamilton in Ontario, and we're having a taste of the Radio the Mothership. So this beer is an Imperial IPA or double IPA, however you want to call it, at 8.5%, and it should be pretty nice. I know the English beer tubers have been reviewing some of these beers, the likes of Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, Harry at Blue Nose, also Peter at the Clueless Drinker. They've been reviewing some of these beers and seem to rate them really highly, so I'm very excited to try this one and see how we get on with it. This one seems to be one of the new regular range that we're getting at Systembolaget over here in Sweden, and pretty much I just bought this beer when I saw the Canadian flag next to it. It had some cool artwork. I thought, I need to get a hold of one of these. So yeah, really interested to see how this one turns out. It's cool to have some more Canadian beer, and I'm actually working with some Canadians now who are all from different provinces, so it may well be that over the next couple of months and things like that, you may well see some more Canadian beer reviews regularly from different parts of the country. So we'll see how we get on with that, but definitely looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. I have seen that most of these Collective Arts beers seem to be in tall boy cans, the sort of 450ml ones, and this one does seem to have a label that goes around that's got a tiger on it as well, so there may well be a few different labels for this beer, but we'll talk about the history of the brewery and get onto the tasting in a little minute. So as always, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Collective Arts Brewing. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and check for beers based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Canadian beers that I've reviewed for you. Like I said, hopefully that list will get added to more in the near future, but you'll find this beer in there. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Collective Arts Brewing then before we taste the beer, on to my brewery notes. So as I mentioned to you earlier, Collective Arts are based in Hamilton in Ontario, and they were founded back in 2013 by Matt Johnson and Bob Russell. So Matt comes from a marketing background, and he'd worked in the beer industry for a number of years, and he actually previously worked with Moosehead, who are one of the big kind of macro breweries over in Canada, while Bob on the other hand came from a branding background, and he ran his own businesses doing things like graphic design and stuff like that, from what I understand. But the brewery are based in the former brewery of Lakeport Brewing Company, which is leased from the Hamilton Port Authority. They apparently share this facility with Nickelbrook Brewing, and it's known collectively as the Arts and Science Brewery. The current brewmaster is Ryan Morrow, and he's also the brewmaster for Nickelbrook, with whom he's worked since 2006. These guys, of course, like I say, were founded back in 2013, so he's got about 6.5 years, maybe 7 years experience with Collective Arts Brewing, and he's got nearly 12 years experience with Nickelbrook at this point in time. But the whole idea behind this brewery is quite an interesting one. It's apparently to foster relationships between like local artists, filmmakers, musicians, photographers and stuff like this through the medium of craft beer, because they say it's a very, very social tool, which undoubtedly it is. So really cool concept that these guys have put together. If you go onto the brewery website, you can submit music to them and art and things like that, so it really is quite cool. It's really something that's helping to promote the art sector, as well as having that whole kind of foodie element to it. So it's a really interesting thing that they've got going on over there. And like I say, the English guys who are reviewing beers like Craig, Harry and Peter and stuff like that, they've been telling me some very good things about these guys. So if you've got good craft beer, you've got nice stuff to look at, you've got nice music, you've got things like that, what else can you really ask for? I think that's a really cool thing. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to have a look at their website, the website's in the description below. You can follow them up on Facebook and keep up to date with their latest goings on. As I said, most of their beers are released in cans in the 450 milliliter cans, and they all seem to have, they've got really nice artwork on them. I think it's local artists and stuff, like I say, that they're using to produce the different art that goes on the beers. And as I say, I don't know why this one is a 330 rather than the kind of tall boy cans that their other beers come in. But yeah, as I say, that's all you need to know. Let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. I'll just check how you're seeing that on the camera. There you can see this kind of psychedelic teddy bear or something like that. That looks, you know, it's quite an interesting piece of artwork. That it's really cool, but I wouldn't recommend looking at it if you're epileptic or something. You know, it might give you a seizure. But really cool that. I like how all the colours and everything go together on it. I'm not a big art buff by any means or any stretch of the imagination. You know, if it's nice to look at, I like the metal album cover artwork and things like that. So you know, you can appreciate things like this where obviously a lot of time and effort has gone into it. I think that's really cool actually. But on to the beer itself. This one is an 8.5% Imperial IPA. The stats on the beer, this one's hopped with Mosaic, Citra and Simcoe, and it's got a malt base of 2-row Carafoam malt and some flaked wheat and also some dextrose sugar in there as well. So it should be a pretty nice kind of, I'm guessing from what they have in it that it's going to be a more of a New England style IPA, this one. But we'll see how we get on with it. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So yeah, in the can you can definitely get some of those really nice hoppy fruits, but let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So yeah, as you can see with this one, it's not quite as hazy as you might expect. It's got a good little bit of hazy quality to it, but it's not like one of these big fruit, you know, kind of big juice bomb sort of IPAs that you might get, but it looks quite nice. So as you can see, there's a solid finger and a half of a frothy, I would say slightly creamy coloured head on this one. It's not perfectly white. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see the beer is pretty opaque. There is a good bit of haze to it, but as I say, it's not one of the kind of big juicy ones by the looks of it that you can see, but one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall it does look pretty nice and pretty much what you would expect from one of these IPAs these days. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh, that smells nice. For me, definitely a lot of passion fruit coming out of this beer. That'll be the Simcoe straight up. The passion fruit in this one really is quite prominent actually. That seems to be the mainstay when it comes to the fruity side of the beer. You can pick up a little bit of the mango from the Citra as well, but really I think the passion fruit is the one that's kind of punching its way out of this one. There's a wee bit of a kind of tangerine orange note as well, which will be the Mosaic, and some kind of, there is a bit of a berryish note to this one, so probably it's the Citra and the Mosaic that are kind of combining there. The Citra will give you a little bit of lychee, but the Mosaic can give you some blueberries and things like that. The Citra can give you quite a few things depending on what you mix it with. You can sometimes get gooseberries and things like that, and there's maybe a little touch of that in here. But for me, the main note in the fruity quality of this beer, it's the passion fruit from the Simcoe that's really coming out of this one for me. You can pick up a little bit of the floral quality. Maybe there's a little bit of grassiness to it as well. But yeah, it does smell quite nice. The malt base is coming out quite nicely as well. There's definitely a nice bit of that bready quality, and that's the 2-row malt. I always love that about some of the North American beers, mainly American ones I've had right enough that I've used that. But when you use the 2-row malts, they give you this lovely bready quality and just sort of thicken up the malt base of the beer. There's so many breweries these days that are just doing beers that have a very plain malt base, you know, just like a pale malt or something like that, and they're focusing on just blasting the beer with hops. For me, it's not really all about that. I want a beer that's balanced, you know, that you've got a little bit of that caramelly sweetness in there, but you've also got that lovely kind of juicy fruity note from the hops. You can't really have one without the other, in my opinion, and to me, the aroma that's coming out of the malt base on this one is very promising. You know, it's got a little bit of that biscuity note. It's got a nice sort of bready base to it as well. It's almost got a bit of a kind of bread and butter quality too, which is really nice. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But I've got a feeling this one's going to be quite a good one. I think this is going to be an interesting kind of hybrid between the West Coast IPA and the New England IPA. So we'll see how we get on. So this one is the Radio the Mothership, an Imperial IPA, 8.5% from Collective Arts Brewing in Hamilton in Ontario over in Canada. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, I'll say straight away, that's a really, really solid IPA. It's one of these ones, you know, everyone's palate is different. Beer is very, very subjective. But that's one of these ones that really does hit the spot for me. It's got a really, it's just really nicely balanced actually. It's got the bits I like about the West Coast IPA, and it's also got the bits that I like about the New England IPA as well. You know, I'll give a straight, you know, a thumbs up to Collective Arts for this one. This is really nice. So if you get the chance to try this, I recommend that you do, because it is a pretty bloody good beer. If this is one of the regular ones that we're getting at Systembolaget here now, then I probably will buy a few more of these than I should, to be honest. But yeah, that's a nice beer. So with this one, the malt base is really nice. Let's start with that. So you can feel there's this nice pale ale quality that goes right across the middle of your palate. You can feel that sort of pale malt base, but on top of that you start to feel the two-row coming out. It's got this nice almost bread and butter quality to it, but then right in the middle of your palate you start to get the biscuity sweetness and some of the kind of richer caramel, which is really nice. Yeah, I like how everything kind of goes together in this one. So you've got that really nice, slightly stronger caramel note, but as the flavour goes further and further into the aftertaste, you can feel there's a little bit of that, there's a little bit more of the biscuity qualities coming out. It's quite interesting because when you go right in the middle of your palate, you can feel there's a little bit of that caramelly note in there. That's covering the booziness of the beer, and as you go further out towards the sides, you can feel the beer becomes a little bit more biscuity. It's almost like that digestive, that McVitie's digestive quality, that comes out a little bit more, and you can feel the sort of bread and buttery flavour to the beer just balancing that, and that's all sitting on top of this nice kind of a pale malt base. And it's interesting that the dextrose sugar to this one, it's an interesting addition, that, because it's when you've got that kind of caramelly biscuity sweetness to the beer from the two-row malts, the dextrose seems to be taking a little bit of a back seat, to be honest, but it's probably just giving the mouthfeel that little bit more smoothness, if that makes sense, a little bit more of that smoothness. Yeah, it's interesting that it really, the way all the flavours in this beer are going together is really quite nice actually. I do like that about this beer. It's definitely, you can definitely pick up a little bit just of how smooth this beer is, so pay attention to that when you're drinking it. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness there. For me, that'll be from the Mosaic. I always find the Mosaic just gives you a little touch of earthiness, but as you come further forward along the sides of your palate, you can feel the nice floral aromaticity to this beer. There's a little bit of that sort of, it's not quite spicy, but it does have a little bit of a bite to it. But then you go round the very front curve of your palate and it's just a lot lighter and grassy than that, which is nice. But yeah, everything in this beer just goes together really quite nicely. It's a very well balanced beer actually. If you just go behind the front curve of the palate, then that's where you get that little oily bubble where those nice juicy fruity notes are kind of starting to come out of the beer. This is one of the things, this beer, it isn't at its prime, if you like. It's not quite at its fully freshest, if that makes sense, but it still comes across really nicely, and you can still get all the kind of fruity qualities that you'd expect of this beer. So with this one, there's a little, for me at the moment, there's a little touch of a grapefruity quality. You can feel that kind of forming the linchpin of the beer, but on top of that there's the passion fruit as well. The grapefruit, I should say, is kind of in the background. It is more of a passion fruity note, so the Simcoe, I think, is kind of taking the lead in this beer more than anything, but on top of that you get some of the juicier mangoes, and as you progress further and further into the flavour, you start to get other things coming out of this one. There's a little bit of the tangerine orange, which will be the Mosaic, of course. And some, yeah, you can really get the blueberries from the Mosaic in this one as well. You can really feel those nice tropical fruit complexities coming out of this one. The Mosaic and the Citra can really give you some interesting stuff when it comes to the beer. But yeah, like I say, a little touch of grapefruit to it, passion fruit. On top of that, you're getting some of these oil. It's actually it's interesting with this one because the Mosaic normally gives you a bit of a juicier tangerine, but for me, it's a bit more of an oily orange that's coming out of this one. But right in the middle of your palate at the front, you can detect a little bit of that nice blueberry note. You can pick up some of the lychee kind of qualities, maybe even a little bit of the gooseberry that you can sometimes get from the Citra as well. But everything in this beer goes together really nicely, and it's interesting, like I say, because it's got some of these New England flavours that you want. It's got a little bit of that kind of almost oaty quality. It's got a little bit of that New England smoothness to it, if you like. But it's got the lovely kind of malt balance, a little bit of that sweetness that you like from the West Coast IPAs as well. So I'm not sure if they've created this one intentionally as a sort of hybrid, but to me that's how it comes across. It's got the hoppiness that you'd expect from either style of IPA, but it's got a lovely big malty quality to it, which I think suits it really well. And some of that maltiness comes from the New England side, some of it comes from the sort of California side as well. But overall, it's a really solid beer, this one. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So if you get the chance to try this one, I really recommend that you do. It's definitely an interesting beer. Just pay attention to it though, because I think they've got another label with it. The other label that I saw that this one had was the Tiger label, which was really quite interesting. So have a go at it for yourself and just see what you think. I think it's really nice though. In terms of the mouthfeel, mid-bodied, carbonation's really quite smooth on this one. Leans a bit more towards the oily side of things in terms of the mouthfeel. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness, nice malty sweetness to the beer. It's got a good balance between that sweetness and smoothness. Like I say, it's a kind of New England, West Coast type hybrid beer, but a lot of nice juicy fruits to this one, I would say. But overall, a nice beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, so I'd recommend that you have a go at this for yourself and just see what you think. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. I'm really quite happy with this beer, and I certainly look forward to reviewing more of the Canadian beers at some point in the future. So we'll see how we get on with that. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Collective Arts as well. I'd love to try some more of their beers, and from what I gathered, they're becoming more widely available in England, so hopefully I can pick up a few more over there. But thanks again for watching my beer reviews, and until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. Let me know what your thoughts are on this beer, and let me know your favourite Collective Arts beer as well, and I'm sure we'll return to Canada in the fairly near future. This is the Radio the Mothership from Collective Arts Brewing in Hamilton, Ontario over in Canada. Slàinte just now. Skål.